How's it going, Sword Family? It's time again for the Teahouse. As always, we have almost always, we have a brand new tea to try. Almost tripped up on that one. We're trying a blackberry tea today, so yeah, I like it. It's good. All right, so today, thanks to a idea from our good friend Nick Talkert, we're going to be talking about some of the pitfalls of being a almost entirely solo practitioner and some of the ways that I attempt to combat that as best I can. How's it going, Sword Family? So, before we get into everything, a special shout out to my first and so far only patron, who is our very own Joe Bachman, the mind behind IndieCD.org. Anybody else wants to join the Patreon? It's patreon.com/bladedthesis. Spelled just like you see. Wait. Right there. Right there. Or if you want to buy a Teahouse shirt, just like it says right there on the ticker, bonfire.com/the-Teahouse-shirt. And we got a few comments already, though I'm expecting a not full house tonight, with a few people being down at RegionCon, but we'll see who's stopped by tonight. Oh, look at that. We have a new first place. Kitty, I'm the first this time. And Aunt Donna, hey Kitty. There's Foxy. Wow. That's unusual, being the third person to comment. And Donna greets Kitty, and Kitty greets Donna, and Foxy greets Donna, and Carl Witzman. Hello, Carl. And Foxy greets Carl, and Donna, it's the Witzman dude. And there's Dawn. Hey, y'all. Hello, Dawn. Glad you stopped by. Donna greets Dawn, and Carl greets Dawn, and Foxy greets Dawn, and Kitty greets Dawn and Carl. Carl says, so sword practice, pokey stick practice, guitar practice. Yeah, we're kind of going to cover all of them. I mean, it's a lot of the same kinds of things for all of the above. Not guessing, this is not the green room. Yeah. I didn't do green room last night. I was just I wasn't feeling great, so I just kind of didn't want to bring anybody's mood down by feeling like crap on camera. So, but those stories that I was planning on telling, keep those in mind. We'll keep those for next week. Kitty says all of the above. Yes, we will be discussing up to and including green room shenanigans. Well, we're going to try and behave as much as we can, I guess. But, we have this just in case, always in the background. Just recovering from last night, so no shenanigans. Okay. Jeez. Didn't think we were that hard on you. Well, I can't really say, but not really. That's good. Don't forget to like and share. Yes. Again, I've only been doing this since September, and I still suck at that part. So any, comment, help, or other help would be appreciated. Hey, Thesis. Hello, Dawn. Blackberry deciding if I want to behave or not. So I will start with the behaving. Okay. And Donna greeting me. Sounds interesting and good. I'm hoping so. Donna's had blackberry tea. Yeah. This is not a brewed tea. Not yet anyway. I might try and find one later. But this is just the bottled brisk blueberry iced tea. But it's really good. I like it. So, and the unbehaving. Once you go blackberry, search Betty White. Nope, not doing it. Aw, I was missed. Well, it's always nice to have, community and people who actually want you around. It's not something I'm used to most of the time. So that won't last. Yeah, well. Carl mentioned he had those notes ready. Guess he has to keep them for another week. Yeah. Hang on to those until next Friday. Because I still want to tell those stories, and at least to an extent, as much as possible, I try and keep things here as PG-13 as possible. I try and police my language. I try not to swear as much as I normally do. So, notes to only ask about in a certain room. Yes. Because I could talk about them here, but it wouldn't really be on topic. So, Donna behaves herself in here. Yes, in here. In here. Yes. All right. Solo practice. First off, what does it mean to be a solo practitioner? I don't have a club or a class or anything to hold myself accountable to when I'm practicing. And yes, that includes my sword practice. That includes my guitar practice. Pretty much, don't hit the microphone. Pretty much everything I do, I'm doing entirely on my own. But what I do have, and I'm surprised no one has piped up with this yet, is I do have students. I have people that I can call on to hold me accountable. Excuse me. I don't have many, but you don't need that many. As long as you have one person or two people or 3 or 5 or 12, whatever, as long as you have people that you can be like, hey, I need to do this. Can you come and watch with me? Yeah, see? Kitty says you have us. Exactly. No, you do more than try. I've just been really bad. And that's also something that I kind of want to talk about here. I've been really bad about asking for help. I've always been bad about asking for help. I mentioned in one of my earlier streams that it is possible to learn forms from DVDs or books. I have several of these. But you can't do it on your own. You can watch the DVD, you can read the book, you can try and practice what you're learning from that media, but unless you have another person to watch with you, alongside you, and be like, wait, hold on. What you just did looks different than what's on the video or on the page. Well, I appreciate that, Don. I really do. It's important to have other people to fall back on. Our friend Nick that does, Never Mind the Furthermore every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. It's 8:00 for me. So Mountain Time, do your own calculations. It's the weekend. I don't feel like doing math. We all know that, in the chat, we have people that mention their own accountability, the things that they've done since the last show. And that's something that you have to do as a solo practitioner. And it also, it's not just martial arts. It's accountability in everything if you're doing it by yourself. I have been writing a book. Actually, I've been writing 2 or 3 books for a while. And I'll sit and pick at them. But until this lovely group of people in this chat, I never felt good enough. I would write something and I would get frustrated with it and be like, no, this sucks. And I would delete the whole thing and I would have to start over again every single time. But since meeting these people have built me up to the point where I actually feel like I can finish one of these damn books. Now, it's going to be a process, but hopefully I'll get one of them done. But like I said in that other stream, if you're going to try and learn something, whether it's martial arts, whether it's learning to play an instrument, you need the 3 pillars. You need you need 2, at least 2 of the 3 pillars. And I discussed this in my earlier stream. You need people, you need media, and you need at least, what was the 3rd pillar? It'll come to me. Like I said, it's the weekend. If you only have the media and you're doing it all by yourself, you're never going to actually get anywhere. You might be able to do the form, but you're not going to notice those little mistakes that you make. Why does everyone expect to write like a professional the first time they write? Don't be a perfectionist. Perfectionists never get done. This is true. Oh, well, look at that. Skipped over Dan's comment. Sorry, I'm late. Hey, you're here, Dan. You're here. And yes, Dan, Foxy did finish her story today. So hopefully when we're done here, she'll send that off to you. Hear that? You will send it to Dan when we're done. And Carl and Donna both greeting Dan. And oh, there it is. Speaking of getting done, I finished my short story today. Good. Yes. Dawn greeting Dan and Carl. Great, Foxy. Yes. And Don, woohoo, and squee. I'm not going to try. I will blow out my voice if I try and squee. Great, Foxy. Yes. Word count is bugging me. Yeah, I actually had that exact same problem with mine. 2701. I had the opposite problem. I had like 16,555. So I had to go back through and find 5 more words just so I had an even 17. And see, that right there. I have been bugging her almost every single day to finish that story because she is a solo writer. But I had to be there so that I could hold her accountable and be like, hey, you need to get that finished. You need to finish it up. People. Yeah, don't blow out your voice. That would make for an awkward, next 40 minutes. I have a little story. And it does go along with, being a solo practitioner. Many, many years ago, I want to say 2000, 2001, I went on a cruise with my parents. My parents, my brother and sister, the whole family went on a cruise. And the days that you were docked at port, there was hardly anyone on the boat because everyone was off doing excursions and things like that. And we were on a carnival Carnival Cruise Line. And there was a raised deck, a small raised deck above the main outside deck. This is going to get me in trouble. I know it. And that deck, because it was raised above the main deck, was the topless deck. Yes, I know. Not the green room. Hush. So, if you were looking from the main deck up, there was paneling around the outside. So you couldn't see if you were looking from the bottom up. But anyone who's ever seen a Carnival Cruise Line, they're kind of one of the smaller cruise liners. The other ones are quite a bit bigger. So if you had another cruise line alongside ours, their main deck would be able to look down onto the topless deck. And one of the times that we stopped, we went and did our little excursion because we did one at all 3 ports. We came back from our thing, and there was still very few people. Excuse me. There were still very few people out or on the ship. And on this particular vacation, I hadn't had a whole lot of opportunity to practice my martial arts. This happens almost every single vacation I take with my parents. I don't get a lot of opportunity to practice because they're always go, 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 go. They always have to be doing something. They can't just sit and, yeah. So I'm like, hey, here's an opportunity to go practice. Now, to be honest, that was not my original thought. On that particular vacation, with the exception of the excursions and the 2 formal dinner nights, I was pretty much left to my own devices all day, every day, for a week. I could wake up when I wanted to. I could go to bed when I wanted to. I could eat when I wanted to. So we got back from the excursion, and I just started wandering. And I was 19 or 20. So I decided I would go and see if there was anyone up on the topless deck. Yes, I know. Not the green room. Shush. I was a 19-year-old boy. I wanted to see something. Not that I didn't see things already. There were, bikinis galore, but just hush. I went up there. There was nobody there. And kind of off on a corner in the back was a mop. Don't ask. I don't want to know why there was a mop on the topless deck. I don't want to know. Just and it was one of those kind of like that one. An old-fashioned mop that had threads on the bottom. So I walked over there, and I unthreaded the mop handle from the mop, and something, I don't know what, but something came over me, and I just started to move. I was doing a staff form before I knew a staff form to do. And here is the kind of point to this story. I'm moving. I'm doing this, I'm doing this form. I'm moving. I'm doing the staff thing. And I stopped and I realized, where I was. We were at port. There was another ship docked right next to us, and their main deck was up here, and I'm down here, and there's a crowd of probably 24 people watching me. Now, this was, over 20 years ago. So I just kind of dropped the mop handle and booked it off that sucker. I was embarrassed as shit. But now, thinking back on it, I wish I had some video of that. Because I know there were people with cameras. I saw them. There's some random family out there, in the world that has random video of some skinny little kid swinging a stick around on the topless deck of a Carnival cruise line. And I wish I had that video, because I could go back and I could watch that video and I could say, oh, well, I messed up a step here. I screwed up a staff turn there. That's kind of how I counteract being a solo practitioner now. I have 2 students, 3 if I count my little cousin, but she's, about to turn 7. Actually, she turned 7 today. Happy birthday, kid. You're probably never going to see this, but, if I'm practicing something, sword form, staff form, fist form, I'll either have one or both of Kitty and Foxy watch me, or the other thing I will do, now that I have this lovely camera, is I will record myself. I'll record my practice, and then I will go back and rewatch it, sometimes side by side with the video that I have, and I will compare them. But what you cannot do, especially a new martial art practitioner, don't compare yourself to the master. If you can't get down into a low horse stance like they can, or you can't get down into the taming tiger stance as low as they can, it doesn't matter. Don't compare yourself to the people who've been doing this for 40 or 50 years. This is a problem that Foxy has. She is constantly comparing herself to me when we train together, and you can't do that. You have only been practicing for a short period of time compared to the over 20 years that I have been doing it. Comments? Carl says, I think I could write a story in 2 paragraphs, but could never do 80,000 words. The one book that I have been working on probably the longest is 3,000 words right now. I know this because I was working on it earlier today. Donna says, I think I have an aversion to word count because of all the term papers I had to write that had to be a certain length. Yeah, and when I was in school writing papers, most of the programs that you were using didn't have a word count. You had to basically count it yourself. It's the quality of the words, not the amount. It's not like selling sugar. And that's kind of the same thing with, solo practice. You don't have to. Okay, this is my own personal opinion. I know a lot of people don't share this opinion. But stances in martial art forms are transitional. It doesn't matter how many you can do. As long as you can do them to the best of your ability, that's all that matters. You don't need to. Okay, there's an old story about a Chinese man and his son and his father. 3 generations of family, all learning the same form. And obviously the grandfather has been at it for longer than the grandson. And grandson's watching the grandfather. And the grandfather is doing one move over and over and over and over, just keeps repeating it. So the grandson goes to his father and he's like, I'm worried about grandpa. I think he's going senile. He keeps doing this same move over and over and over again. And the father just smiles and pats his son on the head and says, no, now he understands it. There's a Bruce Lee quote that says, I fear not the man that knows 10,000 kicks. I fear the man that has practiced one kick 10,000 times. When I'm practicing a form, I will focus on one stance and one transition. I will keep doing that one until I get it to what I consider to be right. Then I'll move on to the next one. That lovely little welcome video that you see on this YouTube channel, that you also see on Never Mind the Furthermore and Behind the Code and Burning His Yarn, that 30 seconds, I practiced that for 6 weeks. And I still slipped in the snow. Dan said, I believe the only reason to pay attention to a word count is so you know which editor to submit it to. Yeah. That's probably true. Foxy, I'll submit it once Thesis helps me convert it to the right type of file. Okay, we can do that. Thesis knows us too well, telling us to hush multiple times. Yeah, I know everyone here. I know I was talking about the topless deck. I know most of the thoughts that popped up in people's heads when I said that. True, Dan, that's what I like about being an indie, yeah. Right, Don, yeah. I've known these people for long enough. RTF, Doc, or DocX is the easiest for me to work with, and I think I want to say she has RTF. I don't think she has Doc or DocX, but Libra, which is what I use to transfer because mine was on Google Docs. I moved it to Libra and I was able to save it as just about any Microsoft Word file extension that I could think of. So, first public performance? No. Maybe first filmed public performance, yes. And speaking of public performances, there are two of them in the videos on this YouTube channel. They're from quite a few years ago. And I'm not particularly fond of either one of them. I made mistakes. I made mistakes on the sword form. I made quite a few mistakes on the Tao form. But I leave them up. I leave them up to show people how far one person can go just being a solo practitioner. Back then, I had a class. I had a Sherfool. I had other students that I was teaching alongside my Sherfool. I had a martial brother. We were two assistant instructors. So my Sherfool and my students and the other assistant instructor, we all held each other accountable back then. But once I transitioned to no longer taking those classes, at first, it was literally just me. I wasn't teaching Foxy or Kitty yet. I hadn't even met Kitty yet. My little cousin, I don't even think was possibly not even born yet. So it was just me. I didn't have a camera. Well, I had, cell phone cameras and I had like a handheld camera, but I wasn't recording myself because at the time I was still shy. I didn't want to look at myself, if that makes any sense. So I probably made quite a few mistakes early in my solo practice. But there was no one to see it. I wasn't showing it to anyone. I wasn't, I didn't have anyone watching me. So I probably made a lot of early mistakes. And, excuse me. those mistakes turned into training scars. They turned into, I kept making those mistakes because I didn't realize I was making the mistakes. And muscle memory, you start teaching yourself, and next thing you know, you've been doing the same thing for 8 months, and it's just automatic. It's just reaction. So when that happens, you have to go back and start at square one. You have to start over all the way at the very, very beginning. So if you're starting out practice on your own, and like I said, this is not just martial arts practice. This is all practices. Martial arts, writing, learning an instrument. If you have, let's say, for instance, that you want to start learning the guitar. And you have one of these lovely little books. It has music. And you're learning all by yourself. Chords. And let's say, for whatever reason, you are playing a chord wrong. You know, you have the book. It's telling you what to do. It's telling you where. And before I even make this comment, we're going to put this back up. We're going to leave that up while I say this. You're learning your finger technique. Hush. And the book tells you to have your fingers on the second fret on the D string, F string, and your high E string needs to be on the third fret. And for some reason, maybe your hands aren't big enough. Maybe your fingers aren't long enough. You have your fingers properly on the second fret, but you can't quite reach all the way to the third one. So your finger is too close on the third fret. But you're still playing that chord, and that's how you've always played the chord, the same way. But it's wrong. But you've been playing it that way for as long as you've been playing. So that's how you play that chord. But then someone else comes along that's been playing for longer than you and says, hey, hold on. Your finger's in the wrong spot. You needed that person to come along and point out your mistake. When I first put up the Dragon Spring Sword on my YouTube channel, I had exactly one comment. And that comment basically told me that I, as a person, as an individual, was an insult to Chinese swordsmanship. I should be ashamed of myself. This is not how we do this form in my school. I'm right. You're wrong. You're doing it wrong. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I let that one comment bother me for a long time. I turned off comments on that video, and I almost took the video down, but I left it up. I left it up, but I turned off comments. The person that I am now would have a completely different reaction than what I had back then. Now, I would be the kind of person that would say, okay, show me how you do it. Show me how your school teaches it. I want to see where I'm wrong so that I can correct myself. And I have a theory that if I would have done that, if I would have basically called that person out and said, okay, record yourself. Show me where I'm wrong. They would probably not do it. Because a lot of people are all mouth and no action. But you have to be willing to accept those kind of criticisms when you're a solo practitioner. You have to be willing to have someone come up to you and say, hey, you're doing this wrong. And then you have to set your own ego aside and say, okay, show me the right way. But, and there's always a but, they have to be knowledgeable in what they're teaching you. You can't just accept everyone who comes up to you and says, oh, I've been practicing such and such, and I know better, and you should listen to me. They actually have to show you. Most of the people in this chat, actually no, all the people in this chat have written things and, in my opinion, are better writers than me. So if one of them came to me and said, you need to work on this, such and such writing thing, I would take their advice. If Kitty came to me and said, this particular dance step, if she wanted to teach me how to dance, I would accept her help. So you have to be aware of if the person who's attempting to correct you knows what the hell they're talking about. Because if they don't, and you accept their help, and you start following whatever they're telling you to do, you're just going to create more training scars. If Donna, Carl, or Dan were telling me, that my writing needed help in one particular area, I'd be like, okay, cool. I will work on that. But there is a person that I have known for basically my entire life, his mom was best friends with my mother, so it was kind of a given that we would be, we would hang out and be friends. He cannot spell for shit. He can't. All of his papers in college, when he went back to college, were written by Foxy and I. He would basically dictate the paper to us, and we would rewrite it so that it made sense. If that person came to me and tried to critique my writing, I would tell him to piss off. I would have no qualms with being like, dude, shut up. An example, just for fun. In the same paragraph, this person misspelled sword 4 different ways in the same paragraph. I'm putting them in the comments. The same paragraph, the same word misspelled 4 times. If he came to me, no. Same thing with my guitar practice. When I first started learning again, I wasn't learning chords. I was learning tabs. Now, to the people who don't know what that means, because I'm sure there are some, I will show this one. This is a guitar tab. It tells you which fret number on which string to play that note. Yes, this is the first song that I picked to start learning when I started picking the guitar back up again after nearly 20 years. Actually, over 20 years. And because it had been over 20 years, I could not remember tabs. And so I assumed, looking at this, that this first note right here is the 2nd string from the top, 5th fret. So that's how I started playing it. This is the 2nd string. This one doesn't really matter because it's kind of, well, it does, but, 2nd string down, 3rd string down, 2nd string, 3rd string, 3rd string, 2nd string. I was playing it like that. And it sounded off. It sounded wrong from the song that I remember. But because I was a solo practitioner and I had no one to practice with, that's how I was playing the song. Let's show you the difference. Okay, here's your fretboard. 2nd string, 1st fret. Now, I'm not playing with an amp, so I don't know if the mic will pick this up, but See if we can get a little bit closer. Now, if we go down to the actual string I was supposed to be playing, which is the second string from the bottom, this is what it sounds like. Second string from the bottom, second string from the top. It's a completely different sound. But I needed to screw up before someone else could come along and be like, that's the wrong note. You're playing the wrong string. So that's what you have to do as a solo practitioner. If you have a camera, I don't care if it's a cell phone camera. I don't care if it's handheld camera. Record yourself. Record yourself and then watch it back. And if you're trying to practice along with something, whether it's a video or a book, if you have another person, have that person looking at the book and looking at your video. But if you don't, if you have to do it all yourself, record yourself and watch it alongside the other media that you have. Compare the two. And then you'll actually have a record of your practice. All right. Let's get back into these last few comments because we're almost at the hour. Uh-oh, shots fired. I don't remember what I did. Carl is laughing. As Dan would say, oh, my sweet summer child, you had a program? Yes. Microsoft Word 99. But I also, not in high school, but I also in 6th grade had a typewriter. Mine was all handwritten as well as manually counted. Yeah. Dan says, I have one fellow I had to send a rejection to because he refuses to send submission in any way except in the body of an email. That makes me have to do so much extra work. Oh, I am sorry, Dan. That's oof. Sounds like a pain in the butt. Yeah. Added 3 extra steps to the editing. Yeah, because you'd have to copy it and paste it into, you know, whatever program you were using and then re-edit it because LOL. When I had to transfer my story from Google Docs to Libra, it actually cut out all of the editing. Like everything. I had to go back and re-edit my entire story because when I copied and pasted, it just gone. But is that wrong? Only by someone else's definition. If the chord worked, well, see, that's the thing. If you're trying to play a particular chord and you're trying to play it from a song, then technically, yeah, it's wrong. But if you're writing your own stuff, then it's not wrong. If you're writing your own music, then there you go. If that's how you want to play it for your particular song, then yeah, play it the way you want to play it. Submission guidelines are the first step in weeding out writers who are too special to follow simple instructions. Every publisher has different subs guidelines. Got to read and play by the rules, yeah. It's like an odd name in a book. You have a way of pronouncing it in your head, then you find out it's not the right way to say it. Yes. Yes. Don knows what I'm talking about. But unless it's the author, you won't know who is right and who is wrong. Good example. That's a good example. I like that. Right, Don. Don't forget to like and share again. Yes. Carl has liked the video. Thank you. Hey, Kevin's here. Hey, Kevin. How's it going? Show me the money. No. And Dan liked. Yeah. Here is the 4 different ways that he misspelled sword in one paragraph. It's the same word. Wow. Yeah, I know. How is it possible to misspell the same word that much? He's an idiot. I was going to say he was an idiot, but he's still an idiot. Yikes. Wow. Yeah, he was special. Dyslexic? I don't think so. I don't think so. This is the person that when I called him out on his spelling, slight, language warning, but he told me, fuck you, I get by without it. He gets by without proper spelling. And this is a person that had to fill out government forms. Just, oh, God. LOL, as a dyslexic, even I know how to get closer to the correct spelling than that. Yeah. Foxy, I'm a bit dyslexic and I can spell. Can also mostly type. Maybe he thought it was okay if he guessed right once, but he didn't. He was still wrong. There are reasons we are no longer friends with this person, and that's just one reason. I could probably go on a whole tirade just about that one person. But I won't. Be glad you can't hear me singing that. My cats envy you. Well, Kitty would teach me to dance. Yeah, I know. For context, I got it right when you said show me the right way. Okay, yeah. All right. Okay. We are almost 5 minutes over the hour. My dog is telling me it's dinner time. And I pretty much said everything I feel needs to be said on the subject. So, go through these last few comments. Not dyslexic, just dumb. And dumb is being nice. It's being polite. So, yeah, exactly. That's a green room tirade. Yeah, probably. If I said everything that I wanted to say about this person, and I did film it and put it up on YouTube, that might get my channel taken down because it's that kind of tirade. Cats are telling me it's treat time, but they've been telling me that for the past hour. Yeah. Everyone have a great evening. You have a great evening too, Carl. You and Donna and Dan, Kevin, everyone. Door needs a curtain. I tried putting the blinds down, but it doesn't really make a difference, so I might have to get one of those room darkening things. Stupid o'clock in 2.5 hours? Yeah. I'll probably be in the chat. I do still have one more video that I want to record, but it's not exactly like it's time sensitive, so I can do that, I don't know, some other time. So, again, thank everyone for coming. You guys are, I don't call you my sword family lightly. You people are my family, and I love each and every one of you. And every time you show up here, just makes me love you that much more, because you're here, you're talking with me, we're interacting. So the people who hopefully will be watching this later, I love you too. Patreon.com/bladedthesis. Bonfire.com/the-teahouse-shirt. But even if you don't want to join the Patreon, even if you don't want to buy a shirt, just being here or just watching this in the future, that is all the interaction that I need to be happy, because people are actually listening to the things I have to say. Another good show. Thank you. I'm glad that people are enjoying my shows. Good show. Good night. We love you too. Well, thank you. Next show is the 27th, which also happens to coincide with the local Renaissance Fair. And it is World Tai Chi and Qigong Day. So I'm planning on an entire show about Tai Chi and Qigong, their martial applications, as well as their meditative applications. And you might, depending on how warm it is, how warm I am, how warm it is in my apartment, I might just stay in my Ren Fair costume for that show. So may or may not be home for that. If you're not, don't worry about it. Catch the replay. If you hop in during work or something, just say hi. That's all that matters, dude. It's all good. Good night, everyone. Might see me again in, about 3.5 hours on Last Man Standing. So look forward to that. Have a wonderful evening, and 再见。